play some fantasy football, boys.
Yeah!
Cause baby, now we got bad blood. You know it used to be mad love. So take a look what you've done.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the best fantasy podcast out there. You can follow us at Twitter at Best Fantasy Show. We are the absolute #1 fantasy podcast for all your needs, your starts, your sit-ems. I'm BK. I'll be leading the way today with my two other co-hosts. First, let me introduce Fantasy Bryan. So, Fantasy Bryan, go ahead.
Fantasy Bryan here.
And then we also got our other gracious co-host, Joe.
What's up, everybody? How's it going?
So, welcome, everybody, to the initial episode of the best fantasy podcast out there. We are your #1 tool on the internet to make that fantasy playoffs that you guys need. We're going to talk draft strategies. We're going to talk trade strategies. We're going to talk roster strategies. We're going to tell you who to start, tell you who to sit. We're going to make the bold predictions that's going to take you from a zero to the hero of your fantasy leagues.
I like it. It's the best time of the year right now. We got football starting, obviously. We've had a few drafts so far. Got a couple more coming up. Got the fantasy baseball playoffs coming up in a few weeks. 2 weeks away from opening night. Patriots Steelers. Great time of the year. What do you think, Bryan? What are you most excited about this year?
I am extremely excited for fantasy. Fantasy baseball playoffs, like you said. Fantasy football drafts. I'm glad to say that I am in first place in my fantasy baseball league. And I got the highest draft grade in my 14-team league
That
in
you
football.
did. That you did.
Yahoo knows what it's talking about.
Not always. What do you think, Bryan? How much pull do you put into the whole Yahoo fantasy draft grading system?
Well, I have an interesting story about that. Last year in one of my major leagues, I was voted the best draft. I don't really believe in it, but I puffed my chest out and bragged to everybody, and I started 1-5, so Yahoo doesn't know what they're talking about. But then, through some magnificent managing, I went from 1-5 to the Super Bowl champion by not losing another game the rest of the season. So, could you say Yahoo was right? Because they did win it all, but I don't think it was because of them. So, personally, I think Yahoo sucks. I think the grade system doesn't work. And because Brian's right here, his team's terrible.
Wow.
But, they gave him the best grade. They got to do what they got to do. But, well, I'll see him on the fantasy gridiron. What do you have to think about that, Brian?
I think Yahoo's definitely got some pretty smart people working for him. And I think that algorithm's pretty damn good, BK.
One thing I know for sure is they're pretty mean down at Yahoo because I've read some pretty harsh things. I've seen Yahoo tell me that I don't know how to draft, that I like losing, I don't know how to draft a winning team. I mean, they say some pretty harsh things that I'm not too fond of.
Our good friend Marty, great fantasy player, at least he thinks he is. I think he's pretty good. Turk doesn't happen to think so, but Yahoo told him they should rename his team to Straight Up Learning Experience. Ouch. Ouch.
Huge ouch.
Poor Marty.
Poor Marty, but what can you do? He's a former fantasy baseball champ, hasn't quite won football yet. He'll get there one day, buddy. No worries. But let's move on to the draft. We had our draft this past weekend. It was a 14-teamer. And Jordy Nelson got drafted at the second pick of the second round. Excellent pick. About 3 different people mentioned that they wanted him hard that round. About 3 picks later, it was announced that he tore his ACL and will be gone for the season.
Ouch.
Total bummer.
One guy happened to say, well, we should re-let him pick. But the rest of the league pretty quickly shot that down. Said, what? Once the pick is on the board, it's official, deal with it. I happen to agree.
I agree as well.
Joe, what do you think about it?
I mean, yeah, you feel bad for Tim, but you got to agree with that. I mean, if you let him redraft, then where do you draw the line? If someone gets hurt an hour later or 2 hours later the next day, do you let them redraft as well? So, I think we made the right call. It sucks for Tim. He's got a big hole in his roster now. He's got a lot of catching up. Got to make some waiver pickups, but hey.
Once it's on the board, it's on the board.
Play the hand you're dealt and move on.
And also, once the pick was made, other people made their picks, giving their strategies away. If we would have reversed the draft, people would have known who they wanted. It just would have been a big cluster F. I'm not going to curse. I'm a good boy. But that's how it is.
You are not.
That was a poker reference before by Joe, by the way, in case you guys didn't catch that.
Oh, it's all right. But please,
I don't even think I caught it.
Please tweet us at Best Fantasy Show what you would have done. Would you have handled it differently? Would you have let him repicked? Would you have given him a bonus pick? There's a million ways to handle it. The way we handled it is best because that's what we do at the Best Fantasy Show. Continuing on with the draft since it was just this past weekend. why don't we talk about our first two picks, which are always the most sexy picks of the draft. Bryan had the 7th pick of the 14 teams, right smack in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Me, BK, myself, I had the 8th pick, and Joe had the 9th pick. Ironic, but that's just the way it worked. And Bryan, who'd you go with, and how'd you come up with those picks?
Okay, again, I had the 7th pick. I went with Julio Jones. This is a full-point PPR league with 3 wide receivers and a flex position. That'll take a running back, wide receiver, or tight end. Now, I picked Julio Jones because I was actually looking forward to picking Antonio Brown. Unlucky for me, he got picked number 6. So I was thinking RB at first, but in this league particularly, Julio is a target monster, and I truly believe him healthy, number one wide receiver for me. I think he's going to have a really big year, so that's my strategy for picking Julio as my first pick. Joe, what about you?
Well, my first pick, I went with C.J. Anderson. Maybe a little reach in some people's rankings, but to me, he's a top 3 back this year. Probably going to play 3 downs most of the time. A lot of pass blocking issues with Ronnie Hillman, Monte Ball might get cut. So things are looking good for CJ. Staying on the field a lot in that offense. In PPR is going to catch a lot of balls, a lot of garbage time balls, a lot of 2-minute drill balls. Always like having that kind of player on my team that sees the field a lot as much as he's going to. Second round, not exactly who I wanted to go with, but falling to me that far with, I believe, was a 20th pick overall, was Gronk. Never liked taking a tight end too early, but really can't pass him up at that level of the draft. Going to be the biggest drop-off, most likely, as far as number 1 and number 2 in the tight end position when you go from Gronk putting up about maybe 250 points in a PPR league, where your number 2 tight end is going to be around 200, 210, 220 maybe at most. So, not the strategy I wanted to go with, but kind of forced my hand a little bit when he fell to me. So that was my strategy, Bryan.
You played the pick. Played the pick right.
Sometimes do what you got to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had the 8th pick in the draft, and I'm a little biased on this because I'm from New York and a huge New York Giants fan, but I took a Mr. Odell Beckham. I tried to take my fandom out of it. Some would disagree, but frankly, I think Odell Beckham is a top 3 receiver in the league already, if not top 2, possibly top 1. But, what we say, he only played 12 games last year. Everybody out there knows what he does. He lit the league on fire, set a record pace, but only 12 games, first 12. He's a little bit of a risky play because second year you just don't quite know. But the way I looked at it, I didn't love any of the running backs that were left. All top 5 running backs got taken already. Going into the draft, I wanted either Julio Jones or Odell Beckham, 2 of my favorite players in the league. Of course, as Bryan already said, he stole Julio Jones from me, which coincidentally made the decision very easy for me.
Sorry, bud.
Take ODB, because, he catches everything. And with my second pick, I went A.J. Green. A lot of people would say you got to take running back in a 14-team league, but I said, you know what? The value just wasn't there. I'd rather have 2 of the top 5 wide receivers in the league, start off that way, get the most points possible. I'm a big best available player guy. That's the strategy I go. Between Odell Beckham and A.J. Green, they should both get me 250 points. Instead, why would I take a running back who's going to be 150, 170, just not up to snuff? That's just the way I work. I demand excellence out of my players. And
that's how you win championships.
I really think there's no bad picks. If you think the guy is that high and you really think he's going to be doing good that year, it's not a bad pick.
Well, I think Jordy Nelson's a pretty bad pick, to be perfectly honest.
Some may argue with you, but they might have already picked him.
Tim didn't think so at the time.
Tim definitely didn't think so.
Now, BK, let me ask you something. Do you think that Victor Cruz being back and healthy, do you think that helps or hurts ODB this year?
I think it helps him slightly. I don't think it hurts him at all. If he's healthy, I think it just keeps the defenses off of him. I didn't study game plan, obviously. I'm not a defensive coordinator, but I'm assuming last year that down the stretch Odell Beckham was double and triple covered just about every play because they had nobody else to throw to. And yet he was still putting up touchdowns every single game, making one-handed catches, So I think that Cruz is just going to take some of the heat. If Ruben Randall can do anything, if Larry Donnell can hold on to the ball, the Giants should have one of the best offenses in the league, and they're going to need it because their defense is just terrible.
Larry who?
Larry Donnell, the tight end who catches the ball, but he fumbles. He's got a little fumble-rooski problem.
Fumbly jumblies.
Didn't he have a 3-touchdown game last year?
I believe he did.
What did he finish the season with? 3 touchdowns?
I think he might have got to 4. I'm not positive, but he might have got to 4.
I'll have to go back and check the stats on that one.
Yeah.
And to go back to earlier, I don't think Bryan got to tell us his second-round pick, so...
True. I did indulged a little bit into that, but not really my...
You got a little excited about Julio.
I did. I even went through my strategy a little bit, but on the wraparound, I usually would go with a running back if I went wide receiver first. But like I said, there's 3 wide receivers in this league, full point PPR. So I had the info. I was the only one who had the info on Jordy Nelson, so I choose to use it. You don't use it, you lose it.
All right, now here's another question. Do you think Randall Cobb, of course his targets are going to go up hugely, but with no Jordy there to take the top off the defense, if you will that affect his value maybe? He'll be seeing a lot more coverages.
Well, Green Bay does like to use 3 wideouts a lot more than any other team usually. And with Devontae Adams and Jeff Janis out there, I think people might underestimate those guys, and I think they're going to step up pretty pretty big.
Well, Aaron Rodgers is probably the best quarterback in the NFL right now.
Probably,
Guys like Rodgers and Brady and Manning, they turn these no-name guys, these Jeff Janises, and they turn them into the Randall Cobbs of today. So
I like it.
I'm assuming you're talking about Eli Manning, 2-time Super Bowl MVP, correct?
I mean, David Tyree did have his moment, but I don't see him in any MVP races.
I'm just saying, since Akeem Nicks has left the Giants, he's
Hakeem Nicks, wow.
I don't know.
Hakeem who?
Is he doing groceries somewhere? I don't know, but
what team is he
in Tennessee?
He's on Tennessee. Yeah, well, good luck with that. Good luck with that offense.
Yeah.
He'll be owned in 0% of leagues, but with Eli, he was a touchdown stud. But neither there nor...
I wonder why.
But continuing on with the draft, why don't we talk about some of our favorite picks, which round we got them, why we think they're valued. Joe, you want to lead us off?
Value picks. I mean, overall, I think I had a pretty solid draft. A couple of picks that I thought I got good value in, especially after breaking news today that Martavis Bryant is going to be suspended 4 games. Getting Marcus Wheaton, round number 9 in a 14-teamer. Definitely seems like I got good value there with the news breaking today. Going to be Big Ben's number 2. Already had a good outlook going into the year. It's only better now. High-octane offense, should get a lot of looks. Antonio Brown getting the double coverage that he's probably going to get all season. Looking forward to what Marcus is going to do for my team. Jeff Janis. It's a name that you don't really know about, I'm sure, but with Jordy going down during our draft, doing a little researching quickly, Googling some guys, and stumbling upon this gem called Jeff Janis, should get an opportunity to fill in that role alongside Randall Cobb and Devontae Adams. I know the rookie Ty Montgomery is also in the mix for that position, but getting Jeff Janis in one of the late rounds, what his potential could be in that offense could prove to be pretty valuable for me. So I would go with those 2 guys.
So he's the Great White Hope?
He is the Great White Hope. I have a couple of those Great White Hopes on my team, I think.
What's with Pittsburgh? They all smoking weed out there or something? Le'Veon and LeGarrette Blount had to leave. You got Martavis Bryant now.
It's a little better than what Ben Roethlisberger was doing a couple years ago.
You smoke or
I'd say so.
Smoking just a touch better, but I digress.
Mike Tomlin's got some good stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Brian, what do you think about some of your value picks?
Value picks. I would have to go all the way down to round 10. I went with newly wide receiver to the Chargers, Stevie Johnson. Wasn't really great. Really, actually, was not great at all last year.
That's a bad.
Yeah,
I thought he retired.
I'd say bad was a good word for that. But he will be taking over the Eddie Royal role. Say that 3 times fast.
There you
For
go.
the Chargers, and I think he's going to fill it pretty well. Pretty confident in that as well. With Keenan Allen over there. Antonio Gates suspended, but he'll be back. So I'm very comfortable with that pick late in the 10th.
Anything else, or is that it? You just didn't really get much value elsewhere? Or?
No. Oh, yeah. Raz and Taz over here. Well, I got another one over here.
I hope you don't say Roy Halou Jr.
Nope, not going with that one. What do you got against Roy Halou, huh?
I'm going to make a prediction that Bryan will not be owning Roy Halou in this league past week 4. But go on.
First bold prediction of the season.
I'll
by
take
DK.
that. In round 6, I took Charles Johnson. Now, some people may frown at that. Go, hey, Mike Wallace is there. Why wouldn't you take Mike Wallace in that position? I'll tell you why. I don't think Mike Wallace is going to be as good as Charles Johnson. And I just don't think they like him as much. But that's just me.
They are saying that Teddy Bridgewater's favorite target so far is Charles Johnson, so it makes sense in theory.
There you go.
Only time will tell if
He's on a lot of people's radars, yeah.
he's
sure.
on sleeper list up the wazoo.
For sure.
He's on so many sleeper lists, he's no longer a sleeper because he's risen the boards. But with that, I guess I'll go on. Or
I just have one more
Okay, go
that
on,
I
Brian.
really liked.
Wow, he's got 3 value picks.
Really
No
liked.
wonder he got an A.
When you get the Yahoo Best grade, you're going to have value everywhere.
Now, if you listen to any injury reports in the past couple of weeks, you'll know that wide receiver on the Panthers, Kelvin Benjamin, he's out for the season.
Is he?
Is he? Yeah, I think I read that somewhere. So for me, who was already a target monster and is going to continue to be a target monster, will be ding 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 tight end Greg Olsen.
So he's your great white hope.
He's the third Olsen twin, by the way.
Brothers to Mary Kate and Ashley.
Yes.
Wah, wah.
That's the 6 listeners out there not laughing at that joke. But go on, Brian.
It's a full house over here, folks.
If you turn off the podcast right now, we wouldn't blame you.
But please don't.
Does anybody have Uncle Jesse on their team?
Was that not your team name at one point last year?
True story. My fantasy baseball team for at least a week was called Uncle Jesse, and at a different time was called Jesse and the Rippers.
That
it was.
is amazing.
I'm a full house mark. What can I say?
Yeah.
But let me go on to my team. I think I got tremendous value in the 11th round with the Duke Johnson. Frankly, I don't think Isaiah Crowell or Terrence West are any good, and I fully expect Duke Johnson to be the Shane Vereen of the Cleveland Browns. He's electric out of the backfield. He's got great hands. Cleveland doesn't have much offensively going, so they need all the talent they can on the field. So I'm thinking he's a rock-solid RB2 PPR. And in the 11th round, that's just value. You're not going to get elsewhere. But you know what? When you know what you're doing like I am, that's what you do.
I like the confidence.
Also, I ended up taking Eli Manning in the 7th round, which I think is another great value because Eli will be, you can write it down, folks. You can tweet me at Best Fantasy Show. Eli Manning will be a top 5 fantasy quarterback this year. No ifs, ands, buts about it. I might even go as far to say he's number 3, but to hedge my bet a little bit, he's number 5. He'll be better than his brother Peyton. He'll be better than Drew Brees. So write that down. Do what you got to do. Tattoo it on your arm.
I think I sent you a snap of that the other day, writing it down.
True story. I told Joe earlier to write it down, and he sent me a Snapchat, which ironically disappears after seconds. So did me no good. But
That is an excellent point. I hope you screenshotted it.
I did not. I don't screenshot snaps. You get in trouble that way. That's not what I'm about.
And again, at Best Fantasy Show on Twitter.
If you want to make fun of Brian's jokes, his Full House reference that nobody got.
I welcome it all.
You know.
Bring it.
And I'm also going to go with a third value pick because that's what I do. I'm Mr. Eric Ebron in the 14th round of a 14-teamer.
Ebron.
He will be a top 6 tight end this year easily.
Okay.
He's a monster athlete, and frankly, Detroit has nobody to throw to other than Mr. Calvin Johnson, who will get hurt by week 3, and Golden Tate, who's a PPR monster. Also on my team, but that's another day for another story.
Top 6? I
BK is
think I
just
might
full
agree
of
with that. I
predictions.
think I might have him right around there.
Yeah, he's going to be a stud. There's a reason they took him 9th overall last year in the draft. A lot of times it takes the tight end about 2 years to really get into the league because they got to learn the blocking. They don't just go out there and run routes. And when you have a freak of nature like him, you get him the ball, and that's what it is.
There's a little more to it than just running and catching.
I do believe Darko Milicic was drafted ahead of Michael Jordan one year, so sometimes draft position doesn't really matter too much.
Good
Are
point,
you
Joe.
trying to say Darko Milicic was ahead of
If that's
Michael
a thing.
Jordan? I think they were drafted about 20 years apart, but
Well,
it's,
I could be wrong with it. All right, Sam Bowie, Darko Milicic, same thing. They're both bums. They're
Irrelevant.
both irrelevant. But back to the point at hand here, draft strategy. We're talking about our fantasy draft that just took place about 4 or 5 days ago. Let's get to general, basic draft strategies for your fantasy leagues. Bryan, BK, you had mentioned that Eli was one of your value picks at spot number 6. Now, drafting quarterbacks in a PPR league is a pretty dicey topic that, you know, a lot of people tend to shy away from the quarterbacks in the early rounds. Some people like to get the Lucks and the Bradys and the Rodgers early on. Bryan, BK, you said you went with Eli in the 6th. So what is your take on the whole drafting quarterbacks?
it was actually the 7th I took Eli.
7th, 6th, 7th.
You know, big difference, but, you know. Frankly, for me, I'm not an early quarterback guy. The earliest I would take a Rodgers or a Luck is mid-third round. Even then, I don't know. There's just too much value at quarterback to waste a top pick. Wide receiver, running back, not nearly as shallow as quarterback. Granted, it's always great to have a Rodgers or a Luck, but it's just not worth an early third, not nearly worth a second or first round pick, in my opinion. But that's just where I come from. I could see why you would do it. You'd want to have the best quarterback. They get you the most points, but in relation to the other points, what the 12th best quarterback gets, it's not worth having a real crap running back in order to do it. So that's my opinion. What do you think, Bryan?
I think that's a very good opinion. I like to wait till the later rounds as well and get a nice Ryan Tannehill, Carson Palmer. If you really like Luck, and I'd say Rodgers is the top 2. I'd even put Rodgers above Luck. I really wouldn't go before the 3rd either, but personally, I wouldn't even be getting it that early, but plenty of people do, and they win their league, so all draft strategies, you know, they can be justified.
Well, to go back, you said a nice pick in Ryan Tannehill. Is he really a nice pick?
This year? Yes.
I got to disagree, frankly, because our good friend Mike Vera chose Ryan Tannehill, and he's wrong in football a lot. Great fantasy baseball player, but
You would think Ryan Tannehill was a future Hall of Famer, the way Vera...
The way he talks about him and Lamar Miller. You would think Vera was from Miami, but he's...
The way he does talk about him, yeah.
But...
well, to my own defense, their defense has been changing a lot up in their bill. Tannehill has been improving tenfold.
I think he's a decent to good quarterback in the NFL. To me, he's not a fantasy. He's a borderline starter in fantasy. He's never going to be better than the 9th or 10th best quarterback. But I could also be a little biased because our friend Michael Vera throws him down our throat, and that's just what he does. Joe, what do you think about the whole drafting a quarterback early?
Drafting a quarterback early. I'm neither for it or against it. I mean, if Andrew Luck falls in your draft to number 12, 14, I mean, I don't really see how you pass that up. Personally, I probably wouldn't take him with a top 5, top 6 pick when you have all those studs at the top of your draft position players. Last year, co-managed a team with my cousin Anthony, and we won the league with Russell Wilson and Mark Sanchez as our quarterbacks, drafted, 7th, 8th round, whenever it was. So
is that the Mark Sanchez of the butt fumble? Is that the same guy?
That was post butt fumble.
Butt fumble Sanchez.
That was high octane Eagles offense. Mark Sanchez that allowed him to actually put up some numbers. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that win their fantasy leagues easily with Andrew Luck's, Aaron Rodgers. It's nice to have that guy that puts up 30 points a week and you don't have to worry about it. But some people like to play the matchups. To each his own.
Bottom line, I think if you're going to take a quarterback early, you have to hit on some sleepers late, or you have to really do well on the waiver wire to fill up the holes that you're going to have on your team taking a quarterback that early.
Absolutely.
Well said.
I agree.
Well said.
So going on from there, I got a question for you guys.
Shoot.
A 12-team PPR league. I want to hear both of yours top 5 picks in order, and a quick recap on why you would take those guys. Who would you go number 1?
Number 1, I would go with C.J. Anderson. Number 2, Rob Gronkowski. Number 3, Andre Johnson.
Oh, so you're just gonna read your list of your guys.
Carlos Hyde. Number 5, Big Ben Roethlisberger. My reasoning, those are my top 5 picks. But
So now that the comedy portion of the show is now over,
I think this whole thing is comedy. This has been about 30 minutes of comedy so far. But realistically speaking, I would definitely go Le'Veon Bell number 1, hands down.
even
Had
with
him
the
last
suspension.
year. Even with the suspension, I mean, worst case you start 0-2. It's been there, done that, climbed out of it. Not a big deal. Number 2, PPR. I'm going to go Eddie Lacy. Guy's a beast. Catches balls out of the backfield now. Just trucks people over. Without Jordy Nelson, going to be a bigger part of the offense. Touchdown machine. Number 3, not a big AP guy anymore. Getting a lot older in that running back stage. Got to go him though. Can't really argue that. Guy's an absolute beast. Stays healthy. Sky's the limit. 4, I'll go Jamal Charles. Again, not a huge fan. I wouldn't want to be in those top 3 spots, having to draft one of those guys. Charles, very fragile. Don't see him staying healthy. Had him last year too. A lot of 12-yard rushing games, 15-yard games, where he just puts up 2 points for you, an absolute dud. And rounding out my list, number 5, got to go between Lynch and Antonio Brown here. I'm going to throw in Antonio Brown. Guy's just a machine every single week, 20-plus points in a PPR. Big Ben's number 1. And should be the same this year. A lot of the same stuff. So what about you, Bryan?
Okay. Well, since everybody who does these things all look at the same stats, they're going to be fairly similar. So bear with me here. My first one, I'm going to go with Le'Veon Bell as well, even with the 2-game suspension. Even if you win one of those, even if you don't win one of those games, you still have every chance in the world with Le'Veon on your team to win the championship, to get yourself to the playoffs and to win it. My second, number 2, I'm going to go with Jamal Charles. Now, if he happens to go down, like he sometimes does, pick up Niall Davis. He'll get you there too.
Is that because you own Niall Davis?
I do own Niles. I do. I did. I drafted him. Quite later, though.
Just never thought I'd hear Niles Davis' name in a top 5 fantasy pick.
Just want to throw that out there. Workhorses.
Yeah.
Back on to me now. Number 3. Go with Beast Eddie Lacy. Again, in that offense, you can't tackle him, man. You just can't. He's always getting extra yardage. He does catch some balls. In a PPR league, he's my number 3. Now, 4, I believe in AP. I had him last year, and some unfootball related took him out of the game. You all know what I'm talking about.
I believe he hit his kid in the nuts with a stick.
Nuts?
I think that's what it was.
That's nuts.
See what you did there.
Yeah, AP, come on. He's had a year off. A year. In running back years, that's a lot, okay? It's a lot. So he's had all this time to rest. And he's the workhorse. A beast. Coming off of ACL surgery, 2011? Absolute monster. So AP's my number 4. Now, number 5, absolutely Antonio Brown. He is a monster. For me, he's a special player. And again, with Big Ben passing to him, he's going to catch plenty of red zone targets. Absolutely a number 5 for me. BK, what do you think?
All right, since I did the question, I guess it's only fair I answer. Number 1, also Le'Veon Bell. He's the best, no question. Everything they said. What more can I say? Even though he's smoking a little reefer, good for him. Got caught. It's LeGarrett's fault. Whatever. I'll go on. Number 2 for me is going to be a little different from everybody else, but I'm going a Mr. Downtown Antonio Brown. He's the most consistent receiver. Set the NFL record for most games with 5 catches in a row. I believe it's at 33. I'm not exactly. Don't quote me on it. If you want to yell at me, it's at Best Fantasy Show. Number 3, I would go Eddie Lacy. Very close for me between 2 and 3, but Eddie Lacy's an absolute beast.
Okay.
He's going to catch the ball, as Joe already said. Without Jordy, there's going to be a lot more dump-offs. So I feel they're going to play a little more ball control because their defense isn't as good, and they won't have the deep threat of Jordy as much. Randall's not really an open guy down the middle. He's more of a, slot guy. So number 4, I'm going to go Jamal Charles. He's, besides Le'Veon Bell, probably the most electric back in the NFL. He makes people miss. Has a little bit of an injury history, but it's running back. It's a contact sport, folks. Everybody could get hurt. One shot to the head, you could be out for 6 weeks. I'm not worried about it. And then number 5, I'm going to go with Beast Mode, Marshawn Lynch, because that's just what he does. Every year I doubt him. Every year I don't take him, and he burns me hard when I play him. It's guaranteed 30 fantasy points because he'll get his 150 yards, he'll get his 2 touchdowns, and even last year he started catching a couple balls. So
It's got to be the Skittles.
yeah, Beast Mode Skittles.
It's in the candy.
If you eat Skittles, you're going to score. That's just the way it is, folks.
Score on Skittles.
Yeah. Well, since we're in the preseason still, we're still in draft mode.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we each make 2 bold predictions about this upcoming fantasy season?
I like it.
Brian, why don't you lead us off?
Okay, my first bold prediction for this season will be Alex Smith throws more than 1 TD to wide receivers.
Well, that's bold.
How many?
Right there.
1.
Wow.
1.
Un.
Well, that is 1 more than he threw last year. So,
1.
Okay.
spoiler alert: my bold prediction is Tom Brady will throw 3 touchdown passes this season or more.
Wow.
So, Brian, why don't we go restart that one?
Okay. We'll go to 12. 12 TDs, 12 touchdowns from Alex Smith to wide receivers.
2 wide receivers.
For Kansas City.
Okay.
Mark it up. Put it on the board.
Okay.
How many to Jeremy Maclin?
Uh,
A little inside humor there.
yeah, say like 10.
10.
All right.
Wow.
So, what's your second bold prediction, Brian?
For number 2, my second bold prediction will be, drum roll, Todd Gurley will break the top 10 in RBs. Chalk it up.
Okay.
Top 10 PPR running back, Todd Gurley.
Pretty bold, coming off a major ACL injury.
I'm a bold guy.
Possibly missing the first few weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be eased in at best, if not missing at all. There's that word best again. And reminder, folks, we are at Best Fantasy Show because we're the best fantasy product out there.
Best.
Okay, so I'll give my predictions now. Prediction number 1, Odell Beckham will break the NFL single-season receiving record.
Ooh, I like it.
He will also be the first NFL receiver to eclipse 2,000 receiving yards in a season, eclipsing previously held Calvin Johnson, 1,964 yards. And for my second, Antonio Brown will break the NFL single-season reception record, previously held by Marvin Harrison at 143. Antonio Brown will finish with 147 receptions.
Ooh.
Joe, what do you got for us?
We're going with exact numbers.
147. I like it.
That's about what? About
Write that down.
10 a game, a little on 10 a game. My bold predictions. My boy Sammy Bradford, top 5 quarterback this year. That offense, sky's the limit. So we'll see where Sammy can take them.
Okay.
Melvin Gordon, not a big fan. I'm gonna go Melvin Gordon outside the top 30 running backs.
Outside.
At the end of this season.
Not even flex-worthy, you say.
Total bust.
I like it.
The Bishop Sankey of 2015, 2016.
Did
I
you
can see that.
Did you not own him in more than one league last year?
I believe
Bishop?
I drafted him 4th or 5th round last year and still won. So it tells you a lot about being able to make mistakes early in the draft and still being able to have a chance to
They
win.
can't all be home runs, folks. Sometimes you swing, you hit the ball, and it goes nowhere.
Yep.
You know.
And luck of the matchups. I mean, our friend Mike Vera, I think, could atone to that.
Swing and a miss.
Folks, as this is only the first episode, but you will probably be very accustomed to what is known as Vera luck.
Yeah.
It is when one guy, maybe deserving, maybe not, depending how you look, is the luckiest guy in your league. Everybody's got one in the league where schedules work his way. People who shouldn't be good happen. So Vera luck, it's a thing. Let's hashtag it. We'll get it out there. Vera luck. It's a disease and there's no cure.
How many of us have been frustrated? You put up 198 points in your fantasy football league, and you play the guy that puts up 199, and then that guy that puts up 87 points, and he gets a W because his opponent puts up 74.
And doesn't even start a tight end that week.
Wow.
Well, that happens a lot in our leagues, friends.
That would be known as Vera luck.
VL. Vera luck.
Hashtag the VL all day. All right, well, moving on now. We're going to go into one of our many segments to come in this show for our 5 wrestling fans listening out there who is going to know what this refers to. It's going to be the heel or face turn segment. Basically, if you're a heel in wrestling, you're considered a bad guy, and if you're a face, you're considered a good guy. So if you're turning heel, means you had a good season last year. This year, we don't think you're going to have such a good year. Face turn, you had a really bad year last year, and we think you're going to turn it around this year and step it up. So I will start us off, and my heel turn this year is going to be my quarterback that I drafted, unfortunately, Big Ben Roethlisberger. Starting with the suspension to Martavis Bryant, Big Ben's stats really fell off last year without Bryant. About 70 less passing yards a game without Martavis. Don't see him putting up the 6 touchdown games like he did a couple times last year. Antonio, Marcus Wheaton, they're going to get theirs, but I don't see the major production, the top 5 production that he gave last year. I wouldn't be surprised if he finished outside the top 10 this year.
Okay.
And for my face turn, definitely not a good year last year for one Andre Johnson. Obviously getting up in age, injuries, no quarterbacks, Ryan Mallett, Yates, whoever else has been throwing him the ball the past couple of years. This year he's got a little bit better of an upgrade with Andrew Luck throwing him the ball. So lining up opposite T.Y. Hilton, I see a really, really big year for one Andre Johnson. I would consider him a top 10 receiver this year in a PPR league. Ton of targets, ton of balls, ton of touchdowns. Definitely aim to draft him in any of your PPR leagues.
Okay.
Bryan, what do you think?
Okay. I think okay. On to me. My heel turn. I'm gonna go with New York Jet, Brandon Marshall. Talk about getting up in age. You got to think the quarterback situation's horrible. I like Ryan Fitzpatrick better than Geno, but they're gonna follow Geno. Now, even though Rex is gone, they're a run first team. They don't look to the receivers as often as other teams. So I think that's gonna be a heel turn for Brandon Marshall. On to the face. The face turn, I'm gonna go with Jacksonville. I know.
Defense?
Ha! Jacksonville's wide receiver, Allen Hurns. Jacksonville receivers that don't do great in general. I think Bortles is going to handle it a little better this year. I think he's going to get him the ball a little bit better. I think with Julius Thomas on that team, it kind of takes some of the heat off of him. And leave it at that. I think he'll turn face.
All right, interesting. I disagree, but
Hey,
that's what this show's for.
for sure.
So I'm going to go with my heel turn from bad to good. It's going to be Mr. T.Y. Hilton, who's being drafted way too high in many fantasy leagues. His ADP is somewhere in mid-second round. It's just a joke.
Okay.
They have Andre Johnson now. They have Frank Gore. They have other options. They're just not going to be throwing to T.Y. as much. He's basically going to be running go routes. He's going to get his long touchdowns, but he's not going to nearly get as many receptions as he was. And you can write that down, folks. Once again, I'm asking you to write a lot of things down.
You make me write a lot of things
But
down.
you know what? You got to do your homework, and you got to write some things. And,
I'll agree with that logic.
All right, and for my face turn, I'm going to go with a Mr. Eddie Royal. And he was pretty good last year, but I wouldn't say he was great. But he's moved from San Diego, I believe, to Chicago, where he's going to be an every down receiver with the loss of Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey's already banged up. So I'm going to say face turn, and I'm going to make the bold prediction. Eddie Royal will be a top 15 PPR wide receiver.
That's a really good call, folks. Actually, that's a really good call.
If that's not a face turn, I mean that's like a Hulk Hogan face turn going from Hollywood Hogan to back to Hulkamania Hogan.
That might be the best face turn out of all of us.
Well,
no bias here.
I bring the noise, I bring the funk.
He brings the fire.
But I think that's about gonna do it for us, folks.
Yeah, we're gonna be signing off soon.
So, Joe, you got any last words to say to the friendly folks out there listening?
I got nothing.
All right,
I got nothing because
Joe's leaving you guys with nothing. You got to earn his last words. Bryan, what about you? You got anything?
just make sure you tweet us at Best Fantasy Show, and send us your questions, and look forward to hearing from you guys.
So what you're saying is you did have something.
I did have something.
You beat me to it.
I knew Bryan was going to go after it, so I just decided to steal his thunder a little bit.
Yeah, folks, follow us at Best Fantasy Show on Twitter, and tune into the podcasts on YouTube.
Right. Okay, we're going to be uploading it to YouTube. Check out the Facebook page, the Twitter page, which they've said at Best Fantasy Show.
What are we going to name it? We're going to name it Best Fantasy Show Podcast Debut or Podcast Number 1?
We'll tweet the link out to Facebook. You'll be able to
tweet the
find us. You know, people will be begging to watch us, listen to us.
Tune in.
And also, I'd like to leave us with, we have a very special surprise for the next show.
Oh, yes,
Maybe
we
a
do.
fourth member to the crew. Some call him YT. Some call him an idiot. Hey, he's a man by many names.
We
But,
call him a few other things too.
Yeah, we
you know,
can't
definitely
really
do.
say on
this is a
form.
PG. This is a PG show, folks.
It is,
and,
For sure.
A great addition. He was sorry he couldn't make it tonight, but that's just the way it was. He had a prior engagement.
Prior engagement.
He won't miss it again. He'll definitely bring a little flavor to your ear, as Mr. Craig Mack would say. So,
Staying on that wrestling topic, it's kind of like Survivor Series. We got that mystery fourth guest.
right.
Even though you kind of said who it was already, it's still a little bit of a mystery. You know,
They
what his
don't
voice
know who
sounds
he
like.
is.
the folks should know who he is, but it'll be a surprise to those who don't know.
If they don't know, they will find out soon.
Regardless, with that, I'll leave you with this. Peace out.
See you.